Get Warrior Tough, Mental Training 101 with Andrew Wittman on 105.5 The Roar. Back to Andrew Wittman.
What's up? We're back in the saddle, me and Mighty Steve. Woo! What's up, buddy?
I love it.
I'm having a great time. I don't know about you, man, but this is so much fun.
I'm glad to be here. We got a lot to talk about and a lot of things going on. Big weekend in golf, too. And I know you do a lot of work with golfers.
Yeah.
And for our listeners also, you do a lot of other things in sports, which I think, sometimes maybe your listening audience doesn't get. But, we were talking last segment about, sports and things and what goes on. But, obviously, golf is kind of one of those sports where, man, it's just one-on-one. It's you versus the course, and you're out there, and you got
nowhere to hide, man.
No, and you hit a bad shot. Talk about what's going through, say, that guy's mind, and I want to continue what you were talking about, because there is a feel of rejection. The guy misses a cut, and he goes home, and he's like, God, I just spent $3,000 to go play in this tournament this week. Didn't make the cut, got no money, and I got to go on next week and do it again. And
it's really, and you end up in this like downward spiral.
Yeah.
So, you have to take complete control of your emotions. That's what we talk about being CEO of you, where you have complete control of your body, your mind, and your emotions. And I tell you, this is, with mental toughness, a lot of people confuse it with physical toughness. The easiest thing to control is your body.
Right.
So if you haven't, that's why with athletes, I can really go to work with an athlete or an elite warrior, because they've already controlled their body.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the first step. And then the second, now the emotions is really hard to get a hold of, because it's a roller coaster, man. They could get out of control fast.
As you've interviewed, and I don't want to segue into something there. You said, guys can go to the gym. Let's take Andrew. Who's your favorite football? Who do you think is the most physically well-developed football player out there? I'm using football as an example.
There's
no wrong answer.
Right, no, I love J.J. Watt, because I just think he's a beast, man.
Look at J.J. Watt. I mean, you made something just now. J.J. Watt can go work out in the gym probably twice a day, does his workout. That work's probably insane.
Oh, it's
crazy.
Just nuts.
But there can still be the short circuit where the mental and the emotional side's not there, and that is that. I mean, do you see that a lot with people you coach?
Yes, because you don't. So I'll say it like this. I'll ask them on a scale of 1 to 7.
Yeah.
7 being awesome, 1 being how good are you at doing what you don't feel like doing?
How good are you at doing what you don't feel like doing? So doing your chores around the house to, I got to go run 5 miles today, or I got to go
and so
got to go work out today.
And so this is what I did when
Good question.
No, and I talk about this when I'm out going, teaching corporate and doing training and consulting with corporations, because this is regular folks. I mean, we're talking about J.J. Watt, and people are like, well, that's just out of my, that's so he's just such a
he makes so much money he doesn't care.
Yeah, he don't. Yeah. Right. So just I'm talking about me. When I went to boot camp, I was the fat kid in boot camp, and I lost 50 pounds. And so the only thing I hated more on the planet than running was more running. I hated it, And it took like 20 minutes for the fat on my legs to quit jiggling when I got done running. And so, but what I had to do in order to keep up and be a good, because I wanted to be a great Marine. I didn't want to just, half step it. So I found a mentor who was a recon sergeant, and he would take me and PT me after work. We'd run after work. And he would give me the plan. Now, he wasn't there every day because he had stuff to do too. So he would give me the plan and say, you got to go do it. And it would be time to do 5 miles at night. After we already ran first thing in the morning, we did our workout at the gym. It's been a full day for Marine Corps infantry, and now I'm tired. I don't feel like doing it.
Yeah.
And so I would tell my body, if you don't go run this 5 miles, we will run 10. And I made myself run 10 that day. My blisters had blisters. I was sore the next day, but that was the last time my body said, we ain't doing it.
And you just have to really, really dial into your psyche and your mental, the mental side of this.
Yeah, I'm going to make my body will not dominate me. I mean, there's times where, I'll be like, And a lot of people know this. I fast 16 to 24 hours every day.
Do you really?
Yeah, and 24 hours about twice a week, where I'll just go completely 24 hours about twice a week. Yeah, you know why? And people are like, why do you do that? Well, first off, there's a lot of hormonal reasons, and there's a lot of studies on intermittent fasting. But what it really comes down to is that I'm in control of my body. People say, I'm hungry. No, you ain't. You ain't going without food. You could go without food for 42 days. The body can go without food for 42 days before it totally shuts down. If you haven't, I've gone 7 days one time but without food in a survival course. 7 days, now you're hungry. You ain't ate since last night. You ain't hungry?
Well, okay, I want to segue to something else.
Yeah.
You've said, okay, the body can go 7 days. Does the body start just like the mind? Alan emailed into the show earlier today and said, hey, will you guys talk about this? He knew I was coming on. He's kind of going through some sales Rejection. He's in a very high pressure sales job, but he says, Steve, I feel like I'm doing all the right things. I'm doing all the things I'm supposed to be doing. I'm making the calls and all this. He goes, I just don't feel like I'm getting where I need to go. I'm not getting the results. And like you said, you go 7 or 8 days. The mind starts to figure out after day 2, day 3, well, I guess Andrew's just not going to eat today, so I'm just going to have to suck it up and make it happen or go. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
You
could train, and you can train anything. You can say, you know what, we're getting over this. And so what we call it in psychology is systematic desensitization. So where he's like, well, it's not happening. I'm not saying not make an adjustment,
right?
But if you got to make your calls, you got to do your thing as a sales rep, and you're getting rejection. This isn't happening in 2 days. Well, dude. Rome wasn't built in a day.
Right. So how do you take a guy like that, or because I'm sure people listen to the show that we all have careers and and they go, yeah, that's kind of on point. I mean, what would you sit down and say to someone when they say, Andrew, I'm just not getting the numbers at work. I'm worried about losing my job. I didn't hit quota last month or last quarter. A lot of times, are you finding that a lot of that can be mental because they've got it in their head?
It's all mental
from childhood.
It's all mental. So, and again, and I'm going to go back to the golf swing of thinking like crap. Then what's your target? I'm not hitting my numbers. Yeah. Well, what are you mean you're not hitting your numbers? What's the target? That's not your target. The target isn't, don't get hit when you cross the street. No, that's not the target. Don't hit it in the water. Kabloosh, right? Don't hit it in the sand trap. Where's the ball going? It's going in the sand trap. Stop telling me what you don't want. Let's refocus and find out what your numbers are. And again, this goes back to vision. You're in Mental Toughness 101. You understand, and I talked about this the other day on the show, I guess last week, was about I have a 300-year plan. My vision goes out 300 years.
Now, Andrew, hold on. You know that possibly by odds you won't be here in 300 years.
It ain't about for me, though. It's about my kids, my grandkids,
multi-generational.
But I don't give up on me, man. I used to say I was going to live to 120, and now I got people living to 116. I'm like, wait a minute, I got to up this, man.
It could happen.
So I'm up to 140 now. I think I'll be here to 140, no problem. But yeah, 300, and this is what I said the other week. I'm like, how Paris Hilton can run around doing her thing on trust funds? Because her great-great-grandfather or whatever had a 300-year plan. The Rockefellers had a 300-year plan. The Vanderbilts had a 300-year plan.
But the sales rep who's failing at work, his plan is just get through today.
Yeah, and that's survival mindset. I mean, you remember the different minds. It's either defeated or survival or average
or
minded.
World class.
Well, you got to get all the way up there, and that's what we call that the elite warrior. Yeah, we got to get up there to where the world class. See, what's your target? And so when you're thinking down the range like 300-year plan or 500, I mean, even, like you said, they're just trying to get through the week. If I'm looking at 300 years, 1 week is nothing. It's a blip on the clock. Why am I going to let that get me down? I'm looking at a 300-year plan. My kids have a legacy, and I'm building it this week, and I didn't make the numbers this week. So what? Who cares? See, when you're so myopic that you can't see past next payday or whatever the quarter, and here's the thing with biopsychology and the 11 million bits to the 126, you act that out that, oh my gosh, I'm under the gun. No one's going to buy from you if you're under the gun. You're freaking out, you're desperate. They know that. They'd be like, man, what, somebody might have pity on you.
It's almost a sense of you've got to detach from what you are or what you know. I'm going to back up, like you said, segment 1. Not what you are, it's what you think you are, and you have to really say, okay, get refocused on what's really important. Does that make sense, or am I off there?
Yeah, no, I mean, you have to believe what you're doing, and that's, again, secret life. Once you have ground zero leadership, once I've taken complete control of me, CEO of me, my mind, body, and emotions, before I ever sell a product, I have to believe. Now, I actually believe that Mental Toughness 101, which we're selling on the website at warriortough.com. It's $77. I believe that is not even. I think it's worth 100 to 1,000 times the value of that. And people are like, that's crazy. No, I think it's way worth more than $77 times 1,000. That's our $77,000. Yes, it's potentially life-changing. It could be worth millions of dollars to you, and however you want to phrase the millions of dollars. It could be in relationships, it could be with your kids or your spouse or your family or your bosses, it could be in financial, it could be in your health, because stress isn't taking control of your health now. How much does that save you? And I've dealt with a lot of Fortune 20 CEOs, man, and their families. They got tons of money. The one thing that they're always talking about is health.
Interesting. Whereas when you interview people that are not, say, making the athlete money like a J.J. Watt, everybody always goes, well, he makes so much money, or she makes so much money, or Paris Hilton's got all this. They still have the same issues and problems. It's just a different level.
Right.
Is that fair
money,
to say?
I'll say it like this.
Okay.
Money just makes you more of what you already are. It just amplifies what you are.
It's great to have.
No, it's because you great options. But if you have at the risk of offending people, if you have a defeated or a survival mindset, that poverty level mindset, if you have that mindset and you win the lottery and $100 million,
it's gonna be gone.
You're gonna. That's what they call the curse of the lottery. It ain't the curse of the lottery. What is the curse of your mindset? Is that you just became more of what you were overnight, and it's gone because you're still doing. I mean, those meta programs and who you are is still who you are, no matter how much money you have. So it's not about, it's not about the money. The money just makes you more of what you are. So get yourself squared away on the front end. Know who you are, and the money will flow. See, the money comes to people who are passionate and believe in what they are doing. And I'll say this with people like this guy, Alan. His purpose ain't big enough. If he's struggling with selling the product, it's because his purpose isn't big enough. He doesn't believe that the product is solving a big enough problem. See, once you believe that, man, what I have is so huge and life-changing that I need to tell everybody. I need to shout it from the rooftops. And if you don't like it, hey, man, I gave you the opportunity.
Right.
If you tell me no, at least I gave you a shot.
I can't do business with 100% of the people I never talk to or ask.
Yeah, what's that thing Wayne Gretzky said, man? If you want to double your success rate, double your failure rate.
Yeah, it's Babe Ruth.
I love Babe. I used him all the time on the stump.
He struck. He was the
1,330 strikeouts, 714 home runs. And he said this,
ratio, almost 2-1.
Yeah, he said, I never waste a strikeout. He's always learning from that pitcher. He said, every strike gets me closer to the next home run. Every strike.
Well, Thomas Edison had that same philosophy too. I'm going to fail 10,000 times, and I don't know many people that could do that and fail 10,000 times and still keep going. We're going to go to a break here in a minute, and I know you've got tons of stuff to talk about. We've got something next segment that I think might help a lot of people too. That is on a personal side. Another friend of mine's coming. I told him I was coming on today and talking to you, and they're like, "Man, I really got to get with this guy."
That's so awesome.
Well, it's good material. I mean, this stuff translates across many different lifestyles and many different ages. So
I love helping people.
80% of all doctor visits are stress-related. 80% of tension headaches are caused by stress. Most heart attacks occur around 9 a.m. on Monday. Stress is a major factor of anxiety, panic attacks, depression, and aggression, not to mention insomnia. And an estimated 24 million Americans use drugs to cope with stress. Depressing, isn't it? You're meant to live a happy, fulfilled life, and it is possible. Andrew Wittman can show you the way out. The way to deal with stress, to achieve, to break through limitations, and have an internal identity that calms the storm. Whether it's work or home, financial or emotional, get the tools you need to cope with the obstacles life brings you and still have peace. Mental Training 1-on-1 will help you get what you want out of life. Visit GetWarriorTough.com to see testimonials from people just like you. Take control of stress. GetWarriorTough.com.